Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. I'm here to talk about something very practical today, and I'm pulling apart something that I did recently that was a real success, and I want to inspire you to do something very similar in your business. So a couple of weeks ago, I was promoting a free event in my business for aspiring hypnobirthing teachers because, as you know, my business is training people to become supported, confident hypnobirthing teachers. So I was running this free event, and a few days before, I looked at the number of sign-ups and I thought, I could do with a few more of those. If I'm running this event, wouldn't it be great if there was a few more bums on seats? Okay. Now, as you can imagine, the first response is, I should be banging on about it everywhere on social media. Yeah, that's often our go-to place to think, let's hunt for those last few people to join. Well, I did something different. I decided to utilise my email list. And I sat down, and this is no exaggeration, I had 10 minutes and I wrote an email from the heart. And this one email went out to my email list, and within 24 hours, I had 20 new sign-ups for this free event. So think about this from your perspective. If you were hosting a free taster or some kind of low cost offering and you wanted a few more bums on seats, you might think, just do more of what I'm already doing. When actually, really doing something with impact might be a lot more productive. So I headed to my email and I used some software that sends this email out to anyone who's subscribed. And, some people might think, okay, so if she's promoting a free event, you say, you are invited to my free event. This is what it's about. This is who it's for. No, that is not what I did. I wrote an email very much from the heart. It was a story. It was a story that my potential clients can really resonate with because I've been in their shoes. And the story was going to lead to the invite to this free workshop. Now, I'm going to read the email to you now, okay? Now, as much as I might be promoting my services to very different people to what you are, the whole idea behind this email can absolutely apply to all sorts of businesses. And I'm going to talk about how you can do that. And I'm going to talk about the things that made this more powerful. Okay. So firstly, I am going to read the email to you so you know what it was about. So this email was sent out at 7 p.m. Sunday. I often find that for my audience, a lot of them are checking their emails before the week begins. That's not the case for all people, but for my audience, I find that I get better email open rates at that time. Now, that day did happen to be my eldest son's birthday. So, because I was writing very much from the heart, it was very much about me becoming a mum to him and the impact of that and how it led me to my hypnobirthing business. And I knew that there would be people on my email list that would resonate with this. Okay, so this is the email. 13 years ago today, I became a mum and everything changed. The career I'd worked so hard for suddenly felt heavy, stressful, like the very thing that was going to take me away from my baby. Those early months on maternity leave gave me space to think in a way I never had before. Who was I now? And what did I actually want my life to look like? Becoming Harris's mum surprised me more than I can explain. The pull to be with him, to really watch him grow, was stronger than anything I'd ever felt before. And yet, how could I do this while leaving the house at 7:30 a.m. and getting home at 5 p.m. every day? I tried for a short while. He hated nursery. I felt constantly torn, exhausted, like I was doing a rubbish job everywhere. At work and as a mum, maybe you know that feeling too. Being pulled in every direction and never quite feeling like you're enough anywhere. We later learned that Harris's highly sensitive nature was an early sign of autism, but perhaps that's a story for another day. What I knew is our family needed another way of living. In the short term, a stable salary and a decent pension suddenly felt less important than being home. So I made some big changes, brave changes. I handed in my notice, and a short while after, I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher. I knew it could give me flexibility. I knew it would allow me to earn well. And most of all, I knew it was something I genuinely cared about. Was I scared? Absolutely. But I knew this. For less than the cost of a 5-day trip to Centre Parks, I could create an entirely new way of working. So I did. And honestly, I'm so grateful for those difficult weeks back in my old career. If they hadn't have felt so grim, I might have never given myself permission to change things. That decision has shaped our family life in ways I could never have imagined, and it's changed me as a person too. And if any part of this has stirred something in you, if there's been a quiet wondering about doing something new, about taking your love of pregnancy and birth and turning it into work that fits around your life, I'm hosting a no pressure online session on the 6th of January at 12 p.m, where I'll share what it's really like to be a hypnobirthing teacher. Come along live, ask questions or simply listen. And if you can't make it, you'll get the recording too. Save your spot here. I'd love to see you. Abby. Kiss. So, that for an email is very long. I usually make my emails a lot shorter than that because I know people's attention spans are limited. But for that story to really speak to my potential client, I knew we needed detail. And you could do this too in your business. So I know that my ideal client is usually someone who is so passionate about childbirth. Maybe they've experienced a great birth themselves and they want everybody to. And they want a different way of working. They're sick of the stress that comes with their current job. And they're wanting to do similar to me, build a business up so they don't have to go back to that. I know that's what so many hypnobirthing teachers come to this for. A way of working that's exciting and fun and rewarding, but got that flexibility. I know that about my ideal client. What do you know about your ideal client? The person that comes to your courses, the person that comes and uses your services, why do they come? So maybe if you're a hypnobirthing teacher, it might be that, they've had a really horrible birth before and they cannot have that happen again. The recovery from their birth was so long emotionally and they don't want to repeat that. And people are telling them, oh, well, if it does happen again, at least you'll have your baby at the end of it and it'll all be worthwhile. And they know that, yeah, they'll have their baby, but they might have some big emotional wounds and they don't want that. Or maybe you're a baby massage teacher and people come to your classes because maternity leave surprised them how lonely it is. They feel disappointed that those friends that they've relied on for so many years now don't seem to give two hoots about them. They don't know how to connect with them anymore. Because they live totally different lives to them. They can be spontaneous and they can go to nice cafes and restaurants, and actually you can't anymore because your baby grabs everything. And actually you want to go to baby massage classes because you want to meet new people. You ain't got mum friends. You certainly don't have anyone who gets it. So take a moment to think about your potential client and why they use your service. And do you have a story that is similar to that? What if the thought of you becoming a hypnobirthing teacher isn't just a random thought? What if it could be more than that? Becoming a hypnobirthing teacher changed my life, not because it's easy, but because it's deeply rewarding and allowed me so much flexibility. Starting on the 26th of January, I'm running a free training for those curious about this path, and you are invited. Sign up via the link in the show notes and I would love to see you there. And it doesn't have to be from you. So my story was very much from my own experience. That's why I became a hypnobirthing teacher. Just like that I read out, it was that desire to be with my baby. That desire to not have to leave him in that germ-infested nursery that he always came home ill from. I didn't want to feel burnt out anymore. I wanted to do work that felt good. So I told the story from my own perspective because I've been there. You might not have been where your ideal client has, but perhaps you've had other clients that have. So you could tell their story. Yeah? You could tell the story of their feelings, them looking for this thing because of X, Y, Z. Really going into detail with those reasons. Mentioning, and this is the important bit, mentioning the doubts, So if you think back to my email that I sent, I talked about the doubts that I had, yeah? About the cost. And actually, I talked about the reframes on that. So perhaps you think about your potential client and your potential client thinks, oh, but what if the sessions are clicky, however you say that, And you put that in and you put, she definitely worried that the sessions were going to be really clicky and she'd be the only one who didn't know anyone. But actually, she found. So ultimately, the success of that email was that it was a story that my potential client, the reader, could really connect with, because it's as if I was telling her story. It was about me, but it was as if I was where she was. And I addressed the doubts and I directed it at her. Notice this bit in my story. I said, maybe you know that feeling too, being pulled in every direction and never quite feeling like you're enough anyway. anywhere, not anywhere. So in my story, I'm reflecting it back to the reader. Maybe you know that feeling, you know? So maybe you're, telling a story about when you first were thinking about taking an antenatal course and you felt like, oh my gosh, will I look like the stupid one because I know nothing. I don't know a vagina from a viola, And you say, like, maybe you know that feeling of being so overwhelmed with the information, feeling clueless in your appointments. So you get in them to identify that, yeah, they feel like that too. Now, stories connect with people like nothing else. Stories are memorable. We always put ourselves there. Stories are entertaining. So can you imagine if I had have just sent an email that said, come to my next free event? It would likely have had maybe 1-2 sign-ups compared to this story that really shows the person that I know would benefit from this free workshop, that this is for them. It's so much for them that I get it. I've been there. I've created my training for her in mind because I was her. If you are not using storytelling in your marketing, you are missing something massive. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, oh, but Abby, you wrote that beautifully and I just don't have those storytelling skills. Well, let me help you with that. I'm going to tell you how I cheated, how I helped myself. So ultimately, like I said, I had 10 minutes. So I quickly wrote this in the notes of my phone, just as it came out. Yeah? So I wrote my story as it came out, really thinking back to that moment, okay? Wrote it up imperfectly. And then this is what I did next. I put that into ChatGPT and I said, I am writing this as an email promoting my free session called blah, blah, blah. I want this story to really connect with my ideal client who is like this, and explained what they're like. Please make this story even more powerful, but please retain my authenticity. And it came back, and this is the important bit. I edited further. So it took some bits out and it said some bits were a bit repetitive. Great, it had tightened it up. And it added a bit of detail here and there. And some of the words I would not ever say. So I changed them. I wanted it to be my words, but I was so grateful for ChatGPT for helping me out with the grammar and formatting it a little bit better. Okay, so that's what you can absolutely do. Write out your story and put it in ChatGPT, but don't just put it in and say, edit this. Give the AI tool more detail. What do you want it to do? What do you want it to retain? What do you want to make more powerful? And then edit again. Then I thought, oh, it's a bit too long. So I said, could we reduce this by about a third? And again, it edited it. I read it back. There was a few bits that I thought, actually, we needed that other bit because actually that really spoke to my ideal client. So I added a couple of bits back, but it still ended up shorter. And what ChatGPT did as well was it then linked to the workshop. It then smoothly went from my story to saying, and if you want to find out more about whether teaching hypnobirthing is for you, here's my event, and told them a bit about that. Then, this is what I did. I copied and pasted it into the place where I send my emails, and this is the important bit. It was a lot of text. So I really spaced out the sentences. I made sure it was as easy to read as possible, When people are reading on their phones, if there's a lot of block text, it's really, really off-putting. So I put plenty of line spaces in there. I put in bold type a couple of the key parts, so someone who's skim reading could get to the good bits. And I made the link to the workshop an active link that could take them right there to book their spot. As simple as that. So not only are we thinking about a story that really connects with people, we're also thinking about how can we make it really practical and easy to read. Because, lovely one, people are busy. People are busy, but you are going to stop them in their scroll when they feel that real connection, that real she gets me. So do not hide your stories. So many of us come to this work because we have been there, you know? So many of us want to start a birth or baby business because we want better experiences for other families out there than what we had. Or we had it so great because we found a certain service. We want to make more and more people aware of that. So we have our stories to share. We've been where they are, and we can use that to really connect with them. And like I said earlier, if you are sat there and you're thinking, but I haven't been where they are. I've never had a baby myself. I've never used this type of service. Okay, but maybe one of your clients has, and you can tell her story. It's still going to connect. It's still going to feel like, okay, that's what this person went and used and it made such a difference. I can do it too. So this week in your business, whether it's through email, whether it's through blog, social media, whether it's through podcasting, whatever it may be, don't forget the power of storytelling. Don't forget about how powerful a story that really connects with the person you want to hear it is. How it can refer to the objections they've got, the worries they've got, the things that are keeping them up at night, and how it can lead then to the wonderful services you offer. So as always love to hear what you think of this podcast. I mean, as you can see, today I am recording from my kitchen, just talking to myself and a bowl of oranges. So if you care to share what you've thought about today's podcast, always super grateful. It always makes me happy and pumped to record another one. So I shall see you next week with more useful nuggets, useful strategies for building the birth or baby business of your dreams. Now keep on changing lives. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.